Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. It is Thursday at about 10 o'clock. Pretty mild day today here in Midcoast, Maine. We are almost at the start of February already. Pretty crazy. This time of year, well, in general, it always things move pretty quickly. So, yeah, I've been knee deep in watching the Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones series, and I've been really loving it. It's been awesome. I'm on season 6. I have two more discs to go, and then there'll be another show. I've been doing reviews on each season, and it's been super awesome. And it's very cool. It was something I've been wanting to get to for for a long time, and I just never did it. So I was like, okay, this winter, I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and actually watch this whole entire series of Game of Thrones, and I want to do like a full. It's the biggest one I've done, the biggest series I've done, and I wanted to do videos for each one. So I'm totally loving it, and it's amazing. And even though obviously it's very long, there's 8 seasons altogether. It's super enjoyable. So stay tuned for the next installment which will be season 6 of Game of Thrones. So in between my reviews for Game of Thrones, because it is so lengthy, still doing videos, still keeping the flow of steady amount of content. Really appreciate people commenting on the videos. I just did a video on Jimi Hendrix, uh, Band of Gypsies live at the Fillmore East. That's my favorite period of Hendrix. And that I've kind of been in this trendy mood lately, or mode lately, where I've been doing a lot of music videos. So it's been really fun. I did one on the Chemical Brothers. I did one on a Miles Davis quartet a few about a month ago or less. Did a big show on suicide. It's been total blast. I did a show on Kiss. I did a show or a series of all of these shows that I've been doing. I've been trying to do it on a thing of where these certain groups. On one hand, I'm just big fan of their music and their art, big time. But it also goes a lot deeper for me. It really influences my band Quantum. All of these groups have a real big, for me, or a high stake in that. Where really, I've learned so much from listening to those groups, and enjoying their music, but trying to understand the craftsmanship that goes behind it. And all of those things have been musically a massive, massive, massive influence on my own writing and my band Quantum, for what it's worth. So I've been trying to mix it up. And so today's show is back to movie mode. And this is a movie I've actually been wanting to talk about for a long time. And that is Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, starring Ethan Hawke and the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman, and of course Albert Finney. This movie is just phenomenal. I have seen this movie countless times. I never get sick of it. I'm always completely like gripping my seat or my couch or wherever I'm sitting to watch this movie. This movie is such an intense thriller. It's super dark. It's a really um, I don't know. It's kind of a descent into hell. This movie. It's just such an intense movie. It's such a dark movie. It's unsettling in a lot of ways, and it's such a great character study. The cast for this film is just incredible. I mean, it really is. It's world class. every now and then you get a film that has just a superb cast from top to bottom, but maybe the writing just isn't good, and that but those particular actors that are in the film might be strong enough to carry carry the film to a degree, or make it, even if the movie is not very good, their performances might be so good, or just their presence will be so good that it's kind of worth checking out anyway. There's certain actors that have that, of where they can be in any film, but they are so strong at their craft that they can kind of transcend that. Obviously, at the end of the day, you want the film to be the main attraction, and you want that to be cohesive. But this is an example of where everything from the direction to the writing to the acting is just so incredible. This movie came out in 2007, which is hard to believe. I saw this movie a long time ago, right? Pretty much when it came out on DVD. Back before, kind of the big emergence. Well, it was right around the same time, but when, Netflix first came out, they were the first streaming company that arose, that came out basically, and in like, I think it was like in the early 2000 ish or so, and they were obviously the first company that did something new and innovative at the time, and now obviously many years later, we are in a completely different reality, for good or bad. But and at the time, around that time, Hannaford, the local, the big, supermarket franchise here in Maine, had a. I remember going. They used to have a big, giant rental selection in there where you could go in and rent movies. And this is now it's like Redbox. Redbox is now the only thing that is available. I don't even know if Redbox has a. Well, actually, they do. They still do. Redbox is the only thing now, but they don't have any actual physical media anymore. They did away with their whole video selection quite a few years ago at Hannaford. But I used to rent movies there actually all the time. It's really funny. I remember, like, it was a regular routine thing. You would go to Hannaford, get your groceries, or either before or after, and you'd go to the video section and you rent a movie. And for what it was, they had a pretty decent selection of movies. They had a pretty good selection of like new releases, drama, horror films, and comedies and whatnot. They had a pretty decent selection. They were pretty good at getting new movies at the time that were coming out on video. And obviously, this was the time. This was way before Blu-ray. Obviously, before the streaming phenomenon, before Redbox. Where you rent the actual physical disc of a movie, and it's like well, at the time, or I should say when it came out, it was like $1, and you have to return it though like the next day. So and then if you didn't, you would obviously get charged a late fee. And way before Blu-ray, way before 4K, and obviously the streaming phenomenon. But so, and this was like at the height of when DVDs were, DVDs when they came out really exploded and kind of set the market on fire, and it was a whole new thing. DVDs are still a thing, but like when I go to Opera House Video, they do have a pretty good Blu-ray selection, but 90% of the content there is are all DVDs, including all of the television shows. They don't have any television shows on Blu-ray. But I remember back in the day, and this was like 2006, 2007, 2008, around there or so, and even before that, going and renting movies. And this was one of the movies I rented there, and I was completely blown away by this film. I was, pretty familiar with Ethan Hawke, and I've always loved Ethan Hawke as an actor. One of my favorite films of his is Gattaca. Really great. I just saw a review of someone that I watch on YouTube who had just bought Gattaca on 4K. Really awesome sci-fi movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman, of course, amazing. He was in so many great films, and he tragically died early on in his career. One of the greatest actors, I think, to ever really, be put on the big screen. And Ethan Hawke too. It just, so diverse, such a powerful, rich actor. And again, the cast for this film is just incredible. I mean, you have Philip Seymour Hoffman, Ethan Hawke, Marissa Tomei, another actress who is just phenomenal, so versatile. The legendary Albert Finney, who is an icon, a hero amongst actors, one of the greatest. Rosemary Harris is also in this film, phenomenal actress. Amy Ryan and also Brian O'Byrne, who is phenomenal in this movie, who I've never seen in any other films in this. But then this and the main thing about this film is it was directed by Sidney Lumet, who is a legendary director. A legendary director. He directed this film when he was about, I think he had just turned 80 years old, and this came out in 2007. But oh my God, what legendary actor! Some of the films that he was responsible for: 12 Angry Men, The Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino. 12 Angry Men came out in 57. Dog Day Afternoon 75. Serpico, another Al Pacino masterpiece, 73. Network in 76, legendary movie. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, 2007. The Verdict, 1982. He did the original Murder on the Orient Express in 74. Just classic after classic after classic. Burning on Empty in 1988. Prince of the City in 81. Failsafe in 84. The Wiz in 78. Find Me Guilty in 2006. Just phenomenal. The Fugitive Kind in 1960. Night Falls on Manhattan. Q&A with Nick Nolte, which is a really awesome movie. I'd love to see that again. But Sidney Lumet was a legend. A legend. He passed away in 2011. And I remember as a kid, and these were movies that I was very familiar with and that I really loved. 12 Angry Men, of course, classic. And these two movies especially were movies that really kind of made me pay attention to who Sidney Lumet was. And that is Dog Day Afternoon and Serpico. I mean, two of the greatest roles by Al Pacino. I mean, just amazing. And of course, Network. But I was more aware of and had seen Dog Day Afternoon and Serpico more. I was a little bit more familiar with those movies. I saw Network quite a bit later. But amazing, amazing. And I have to say that when I first saw Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, this was the movie that I really fell in love with. Like, I love all of his other films, especially his work with Pacino. But there's something about this movie that made me really pay attention to Sidney Lumet as a director, and it really, for me, augmented the power that Ethan Hawke had, and that Albert Finney and Philip Seymour Hoffman had, and Marissa Tomei. I had always loved those actors, and I had a lot of respect for them. But it was this movie that really made me look at them in a different way, and also in a different light, as well as a deeper appreciation for Sidney Lumet. This movie is it's such a hard boiled movie, and it's such an intense thriller. It's It is, well, it's kind of a fucked up movie. It's pretty messed up. It's super dark. It's super disturbing in a lot of ways, but it is so great, and it involves this whole story of where these two characters that are played by Ethan Hawke and Sidney Lumet are brothers, and there's a series of events of where they get into the situation where they're essentially swimming with the sharks. They're both really at this, and they arrive at this incredibly desperate part in their lives, and so they look to, because of their desperation, they look at this situation that could kind of possibly take them out of that is like uncomprehensible, that they would, something that you would never imagine that people so desperate would do to get themselves out of that situation, where people, loved ones, family members are, could risk death just to save their own asses because of their sheer desperation. And this movie is a tale of that, and how far your actions will take you, and the fallout. And it's such a great movie. I mean, nail biting, nail biting suspense. The characters are just incredible. I love the film. Has this really interesting thing too of the way the structure is in the editing, of where, right from the first opening frame, you're kind of thrust into, you know, basically all hell breaking loose. And then you have these like vignettes of where it you go back the 24 hours before this current event or a series of events. And so you get the truth, and then so the narrative is like really interesting, and it has this thing about it. This movie has this certain thing of where, automatically you're just thrust into this, horrible situation, and then you see how these characters arrive there. But it's phenomenal. It's one of the best movies that any of these actors have ever been in. I think it's, and at the time, again, this was a much later film for Sidney Lumet, and much later in his career. But this is one of his best. I mean, this movie is, I think it's just as good as classic films like Serpico or Dark Day Afternoon or 12 Angry Men. It's right up there. And I think it might even be the darkest movie he's ever done. Just phenomenal. Phenomenal movie. I don't own this on Blu-ray. I have this on a DVD. I can't remember where I bought this. I probably bought it somewhere. Obviously, I got it. I've had this copy of this film for years and years. I've seen this movie so many times. Just talking about it right now makes me want to watch this again because it's so damn good. So it would be cool to get this on Blu-ray. This DVD copy is actually really great. It has, it's a great, beautiful transfer of the film. It has a lot of great special features, a lot of cast interviews on here. Great interview with Sidney Lumet. Very, very cool. Phenomenal, phenomenal movie. I don't really hear this movie talked about enough. It should be. As a whole, Sidney Lumet, I mean, every movie he's done, I think, is a gem that I've seen. There's a couple I haven't seen, but for the most part, I've seen all of his films, but phenomenal. Legend amongst directors. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.